you're the first one I'm going to have on this show.
Yeah.
You're numero uno, bro.
Let's get it on, buddy.
Let's do it, man.
I can hit lead off.
That's right. You can hit anywhere in the lineup, I bet. I don't think anybody's had an impact on me as much as you had when we had never met, maybe played against each other a hair times.
Yep.
And I remember showing up to Exos and you grilled me, you groomed me, you put me through the ringer by making me go get, hey, you're gonna grab the bands, Chief. They're not gonna go grab themselves. And I think anybody in today's game would feel a little disrespected by that, but I didn't feel disrespected. I felt like it was your way of trying to bring me up to speed. And what's your take on that? Have you always been that type of guy?
I think it just goes back to how grateful I was to the dudes that groomed me. I just thought it was like so cool, man. Like, these dudes are like big leaguers. It's so hard to be a big leaguer. It's so hard to have a routine. It's so hard to do everything. But yet they're like taking a little bit of time out of their day or out of their workout, out of their routine for me. And like, I don't know. I just felt so appreciative of that time, of the knowledge. They give me little tips of the trade here and there. And I almost felt like accountable to like go out and use those that, I don't know, coming from, where I came from and all this stuff, I was just always super grateful for people that, gave me advice or anything. And I never took for granted. And I was never like, you're wrong or all this stuff. Maybe it didn't work for me, but, I just, was so grateful for that. And, I was always told, what you get out of the game, like you owe it to the game to give it back. You can't write the game a thank you card by any means. So what you can do is give that knowledge back.
I like that. And I like how you brought up the guys that came before you, because I want to know who were some of those guys. Who were some of those guys that you play with? Because it probably started even in the minor leagues or maybe some of your first big league camps or even when you first got to the big leagues.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I had some good friends in the minor leagues. Looking back on it, I don't know if it was the right way or the wrong way, but it worked. I wouldn't recommend it, by any means, because you don't know if you're gonna make it. But I had like straight tunnel vision. Like, I wasn't like an ass to anyone by any means. I was always super cool, win first, anything. But like, dudes bring up stories about like A-ball and AA, and I'm like, I don't remember. It was such just like at today's game. Like, I wasn't there to stay. I wasn't there to like hang out and like have a good time. With that being said, I was totally one of the boys. I totally did the clubhouse thing, played the cards, up on the bus and doing the whole thing. But my first big league camp was 2004, and there was a wall, a locker, my locker, and then, the whole thing started. So it went the wall, and then it went Fred McGriff, and then it went me, and then it went Tino Martinez. So I split Fred McGriff and Tino Martinez in my first big league camp. How the heck that even, I don't know, it was alphabetical order or how I fell into that one. But, that, about 5 weeks, was just like, just about the game.
Did at any moment you call him the crime dog?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did he respond to that before?
Like, it was his name.
So when you said crime dog, then the tidbits came, or was it like the tidbits were coming and then one day you felt comfortable enough? Because crime, how do you even fit that in? How do you even fit in hey, crime dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you? And it's not like a nickname that you could just holler across somewhere.
When he looks at you like you're an idiot, when you're like, hey, Mr. McGriff, like, hey, Fred.
That's like, true, Fred.
and he gives you a smirk like, no, man.
That's true. That's actually very true.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. They don't give crappy players nicknames. So, I mean, good players have nicknames. So that means, yeah, we're in call him by his nickname.
And then what was the best thing that you got sitting? If you got 5 weeks of your mind being exploded, create like a hierarchy of top three between the two, giving half to Fred, giving half to Crime Dog, so I don't call him Fred.
Yeah.
Giving half to him and half to Tino.
So, I mean, they both were awesome in their own ways. But so this was 2004 Devil Rays, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're mathematically eliminated by opening day.
Yeah, and you got the the random yellow mark on your jersey that's like just
well,
above
this
the
was
top.
back the green jerseys.
Straight green.
Yeah, the forest green.
What's his name get hit in the hand and he looked at his hand for like 30 seconds and then charged Pedro?
Yeah, charged Pedro. Yeah, that didn't work out. So we're just, team 30, man. That's just where we were. But if you go back and you look at like those rosters, so the Devil Rays were actually, it was like the last stop for veterans to get like that 10th year. It was a bunch of like minor league dudes and then just like these hosses. I mean, the dudes I played with, right? Like, I mean, the dudes that were there is Vinny Castilla, freaking Wade Boggs was there, Jose Canseco was there, Hideo Nomo, Charles Johnson, Alex Gonzalez, Tino Martinez, Fred McGriff, Ray Ordonez came to camp, Robbie Alomar came to camp, Troy Percival.
Dude, that is my 11-year-old twib Saturday afternoon, bro.
Yeah. Oh, it was just
this week in baseball studs.
Yeah.
If Andres Galarraga doesn't play with the Rockies, Vinny Castilla is probably the dude for
right.
me.
So, I mean, man, tons of dudes. But so at the end of camp in 2004, big league camp, I mean, it was basically ran like instructional league because it was these hot shot vets and then just a bunch of like wild young dudes. I mean, myself, Josh Hamilton, Carl Crawford, BJ Upton, Rocco Baldelli. I mean, we can go on and on about all those guys down there. But he looked at me, he goes, "You want to know one thing that hasn't been said all camp?" And I was like, "Dude, we about covered it. We did every single PFP, every single ground ball, every single this and that." Like, I go, "Nah, man, like, what did we not cover?" He was like, "Just the word playoffs. The word playoffs hasn't been mentioned in 5 weeks. So we're not going." He's like, wow. If you don't talk about it, if you don't like try and get there, if you don't set that goal, like, you're not going there. I was like, damn. That was so heavy.
And you didn't even think of that either. You went through the pages, huh? You were like, have I even said playoffs yet? Have I thought about playoffs?
Exactly.
Like,
and then I'm like,
you're like, damn, I know he sits next to me every day and he's been counting how many days that I haven't used the word playoff.
Right. But then I was thinking like, man, why would you use the word playoffs with this roster put together? But like, man, dude, you freaking never know. You just absolutely never know. I mean, and then boom, 2008, we go to the World Series with $42 million payroll, and the same deal. Once Andrew Friedman is the Dodgers now. I mean, man, he cleared the house and brought some dudes in, and Joe Madden came in. It wasn't too much of a difference, but
right. You were seasoned
just
now, though.
The mindset, was a lot different. And then, the young guys finally came. The Longorias, the David Prices, they came. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, just like him, just saying like, you got to set the tone. You got to set the tone. You got to set your goals. You got to, do a lot more than just freaking hitting in the cage if you want to win in the big leagues.
Yeah, you want to cover everything more than PFPs. You want to actually have a team-oriented goal where everybody understands why we're coming to this yard every single day.
Yeah.
That's heavy. What about Tino? What was one of the things that Tino gave you?
That was actually Tino.
Oh, okay. So that was
Tino's the one who said that. Yeah.
Oh, that was then he was 4 rings deep already.
Oh yeah, and he was trying to get 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it was like. I mean, to be able to step back and just be like, oh, like that's what a winner is, you know, like there are individual winners in the game of baseball. You know, there are. Um, so yeah, man, it was pretty powerful there. Fred, I talked to Fred a lot about hitting. And again, you know, I mean, everyone probably wants some like breakthrough info about whatever, but
so
they
Fred used that the world to stop.
Yeah, Fred used that two-tone bat, if you remember.
Yeah.
It was always the same bat, always the same two-tone.
Him and Barry are like the only one that I've ever seen use the same bat. Well, Trout's used the same bat since I think he.
So I asked him, I was like, I mean, and this is when bats were starting to get like a little bit cool, right? Yeah. Like you can have like a colored logo or there were some new models coming out. It wasn't just Louisville Slugger.
Yeah.
So I was like, why don't you what size bat you use? I think it was a C271, 34 and a half, 32. I was like, why don't you use like all black bat or like a wood bat? And he's like, you want to know what, man? He's like, this bat feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, it's not the bat. It's me. I got to make sure this bat always stays good. The bat's heavy, it's my fault. The bat's light, my fault. Feels like this and that. It's never the bat, man. Find a bat, stick to it, and fix yourself. I was like,
what?
Like,
wait, what?
That just totally simplified it. Just find a bat, stick to it, and get your foot down. Like, that's it. Like, gosh, damn, just makes perfect sense. You know, it's like, these dudes like, oh, this dude's like 94 is a little sink. I can go with this bat. Or, oh, that bat was sick. I can order it. Like, no, man, it ain't the bat. You know, the old, it ain't the arrow, it's the Indian.
Yep.
Like, yep. Right there. This dude hit 97 homers with the same bat.
And everything goes, and when you try to explain it to somebody else, it just goes over their head. They're like, no, man.
Yeah.
Get in your scalp. Yeah. Get in your scalp. Get in that back hip. Sometimes it goes one ear and out the other. I don't really know the new hip lingo sometimes, but that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a lot that goes into hitting, but, you know, to simplify things, the more you can check off, the more simple, you know, hitting will get. And Fred just never worried about his bat.
Well, that's something too. I mean, you play with so many Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers. That's got to be the one thing that if I were to sit here and say, Johnny, give us all something that is the greatest thing you ever learned, I feel like it would still circle right back to the simplicity of it.
Oh, it's listen, man, like this is what it is. Like if you've played at a high level and you've got out, I guarantee it's because of two things. You weren't on time or you swung at a ball. That's it. Like, what happened right there, man? Like that, you swung at a ball. That's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, it's exactly what it felt like. My backside collapsed, and I didn't. None of that.
You're like that's what happened, but when a pitcher breaks you down, that's what happens. Yeah.
So if you can get on time, swing at strikes, and take balls, really doesn't matter where your scap is. You know.
It is true. It's sometimes it's too true, but
like, can you like maximize your swing, and can you get like a tick more power, and can you like do it? Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been tons of like swing overhauls that have made it in the big leagues, but believe me, there is 17 times more swing overhauls that are still in A-ball.
100%.
17 times more swing overhauls that are just like, yep, that didn't work.
Or they're sitting at the house.
Yeah.
They're coaching someone else. You know, sometimes that's just the way that it is.
Yeah, if you could swing at strikes, take balls, and get on time, it's all going to work out.
It's cake. It's cake. And the one thing too that I know everybody talks about with you as we transition through you as a teammate. Like that's all. Now, did you learn that while you were young? Because
Yeah.
piggybacking off of what you said earlier, you said you had such tunnel vision that, it wasn't that the guy next to you didn't matter. It was more so like, hey, man, if the guy next to me is 0 for 4 and he's swinging at stuff that's bouncing, I don't really have time to sit and hold his hand. But yet, in today's game, that guy, the way you're talking about it, might be deemed a bad teammate, or he doesn't want to take anybody with him. But that's not the case. I mean, you play 14 years and you talk to one person that's ever been in contact with you for 5 minutes, they rave about you as a teammate. But yet your mentality was completely different.
So my teammate mentality and clubhouse culture and mentality, I think kind of evolved with me, for one, upward to the high school level, definitely little league and up. I needed baseball. I needed baseball because that was my outlet. We didn't have a lot of money, whatever. Everyone's got that story, this and that. But man, you go to the baseball field, dude, everyone's in the same uniform. Everyone's in the same uniform, right? It doesn't matter. The nice clothes, nothing. And that's the place where you are applauded for being dirty versus having the dirty clothes at school. So I needed baseball. So to need baseball, you got to be good at baseball. So, grinding for there. And then kind of working my way up. Then when I got signed, it was just kind of eye on the prize, get there. And then, making it to the big leagues was kind of in a shell with all these vets around me, kind of just absorbing it. I mean, this guy's my first 2 managers were Lou Piniella and then Joe Madden. And right underneath both of them was Don Zimmer, who, my gosh, I mean, this dude's knowledge, just goes on and on.
He's seen.
But then going to the World Series in 08 and losing, that's kind of where it opened up this tunnel vision to where dude, I could hit 500 and we can lose, right? You flat out need all 25 dudes. And it's a whole different aspect and a whole different approach getting to a big leaguer, because a big leaguer is already good. He's already got it. Majority of the time they can get themselves out of slumps and they can keep themselves on that high wave. But there's so much more. So once I really realized that you need all 25 guys clicking to make it, then I kind of, expanded and then used. So at 08, so then I got about 5 years in. So then I started using some of those tools that I was taught. I remember in 2009, when I went to the Reds in Cincinnati, Jay Bruce was over Joey Votto, all those guys. But Jay Bruce asked me a question, a baseball IQ question. To this day, it sticks in my head. I can't remember the question, but it locked me up. This dude thinks I have the answer. And I do. I do, 100%. But damn, that's awesome.
Right, because you're seeing Jay Bruce he's Mr. Swingman, he's Mr. Red, he's got he's the deal, and all of a sudden, and he's asking you for advice, and you're like, wait a minute.
I was yeah, damn, yeah, let's iron that out. Yeah, I got that. But I was now people, are starting to knock on my door, and thank goodness, I knocked on all these other dudes' doors to get as much info as I could to pass on.
And then now after that, is that when you kind of felt like you arrived? Because, I mean, you got World Series home runs. You had 3-homer game in Cincy. Mm-hmm. Some of the most epic fights I've ever watched. And then, being alongside of you, working out and getting to know you as a person, I think that's the toughest thing for people to jump on board, is when they feel like they arrive.
I think it would probably be at all the way. So, I mean, I broke in 03, technically a rookie in 05. I'd have to say all the way until the end of 2012. And that's when this label or whatever. So it was the third organization I played with and third time I've been to the playoffs I've been in the playoffs with Tampa, Cincy, and now Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone was just like, you're here again, you know, you're always here. So, I mean, then I was like, okay, people have paid attention to my past.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen the American League. I've seen the National League. I played in the AL East, played in the NL Central, AL West, so seen it all, been to every ballpark, played with, you know, Rookie of the Year, played with an MVP, played with everything. And so when people like would see me or talk to me, they would talk to me about, you know, winning in the playoffs. And I was like, huh, yep. Yeah, I'm here to stay. Yeah.
So it took you 7 years. You know what I mean?
Um,
To have that feeling. Like we're talking about that feeling where I think, you know, like for me, it happened when I'll never forget. I'm really close with Lonnie Chisenhall. Him and I were having a spirit on the plane flight, and I had just had a big series against the Dodgers, and it included a double off Kershaw and a homer off one of their bullpen guys. And I was thinking to myself, all the work, the fourth team that I've been with, I think I can finally not take a breath, because it wasn't like you were going to stop working, but you finally get a sense of like, somebody's paying attention.
yeah.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah. I mean, and it was too, it was the end of the 2012 season. So I get non-tendered again, you know, and it is what it is, but like zero panic, you know, I was like, I'll land on my feet in a friggin' heartbeat. Check this resume out.
Hell yeah.
Versus like waiting by the phone, calling your agent, what's going on?
Yeah.
All the hoopla. I was like, just tell me what jersey I'm wearing, bro. Tell me what color cleats to order. I'll
Well,
be in the big leagues. Yeah.
still to this day, my favorite story to tell other people when I'm trying to share knowledge with them, and they're like, "Oh, what was it like working out with Jonny Gomes?" I said, "You know what it was like to work out with Jonny Gomes? The dude got underneath 500 pounds on the squat rack, made me take a video of it because he was a free agent, and he shot it straight to the Braves and said, "Hey, check it out.
Yeah.
Do you want me
like
or
that?
do you not?"
You want that in on your bench in the dugout? Here you go.
And that was,
if you're interested in that.
and that was
Yeah.
one of my favorite times in that
Yeah.
workout. So after you felt like you arrived, is that you continue to become a better teammate, or because what does being a good teammate mean to you? Because I think so many people have this misunderstanding of what it really means to be a good teammate. You know what I mean? Be there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the two things that stick out the most in that, number one, be accountable. You know, you can't preach something you don't do. So you got to be accountable. And then the other is spend the time and energy on how each individual ticks. The time and energy. So when you go to some dude and you're like, the funny is when these guys have like little like quirky like on deck routines, you know, they do the donut and they draw the cross and they circle and then they always step out with their right foot or something. And you go to them with something like that and you're like, when did that start? Or like something like that. And they'll get locked up. They're like, damn, this dude's paying attention to me.
Yeah.
Like he cares. Like,
Right?
whoa. You know, so just spending the time and the energy of how like each individual ticks. And then it's cool, man, because there's so many unique people that, you know, you cross paths with and, you know, and then, you know, the reward you get, you know, within, you know, being able to help a dude out at the highest level is it's contagious.
Right off the top of your brain, who is the rarest person you ever came across? Like, we can sit here and jump on the bandwagon. Who's the best player you ever play with, and we could play that game. Who was the rarest person that when you came across, it was the last he was the last thing that you thought that he was going to be like?
Well, not that it would be like the other way, but the dude that I thought was gonna freaking be super good, and no one else did, and no one liked him, and no one gave him the time of day, and all that stuff, was Josh Donaldson.
Really?
Yeah, it was Josh Donaldson. I mean, he got traded from the Cubs.
Yeah.
He was just like,
he's a catcher, right?
Yeah, he was
He got
a
drafted as
catcher.
a catcher out of Auburn.
Yeah, he's just laying in the weeds, and I mean, the way he came up was like he already won an MVP, and he was, shoulders back, hips
Yeah,
out, strutting,
and I know he ruffled some feathers. He definitely
Yeah,
ruffled some
he was
feathers.
super flamboyant, all this stuff, and but man, like what a ball player. And there's just those guys, man. There's just like a couple little tweaks that they need to make, and if they do, but yeah, Josh Donaldson coming up, I knew it was going to be special.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, because you debuted, your story is amazing. I'll obviously, through this interview, when I post it, there's gonna, I'll have comments underneath that they can link to everything. But I think your story is one of the best. It's one of the best I've ever heard, and I feel like my story is pretty dope. But I love your story. And you debuted against the Yankees, out of all people, and you went 2 for 3 against them too.
Yeah.
And so to go through all of that, and then to play obviously the most storied franchise that you and I both know of from our childhood.
Yeah.
Why don't you take us back to that day?
Yeah.
Like,
so
come into the park, you see your name in the starting lineup for the first time. You check, because there's a couple of days you come in and you're like, I'm not even going to look at the lineup. And then the one day you kind of walk by and is that my name?
So it's kind of a funny story. So the night before, actually, we won the AAA championship with the Durham Bulls. And I thought there was a smidge chance I get called up just because I played really well, but I wasn't on the 40-man.
Oh, so this was in September too. So this is even better.
Yeah. So, boom, AAA, champagne, the whole deal. And I was kind of like laying in the weeds, like hoping the manager would call me in, far-fetched. And he didn't. So I was like, all right, let's get these champagne bottles going. Just wild out all day. Pack my stuff, 5 o'clock bus to the airport the next day. Gets there. I'm sitting in front of my gate, heading home to San Francisco. And the trainer taps me on the shoulder. And he's like, hey, I just got a call. Like, you might be going to the big leagues. And it's kind of funny because I just straight panicked. I'm like, oh, no. I can't show up looking like this. No sleep. Partied with the boys, all the deal. And right before we left, I wasn't going to take all my old baseball crap home. So I gave all my stuff to like the bat boys. So I literally had a glove, and that was it. I gave all my bats away. I gave my cleats away, my batting gloves. I just had a glove. That was it. Showing up to the big leagues with a glove. Like, oh, gosh. So whatever. So he comes back. He's like, yeah, you're going to the big leagues. And
you didn't have any cleats.
Nothing. They're in New York. So I was in Pawtucket, quick flight. So get there at about like, I'd say 4 o'clock, and just like jammed to my locker and grabbed my chair and just put like my whole self in the locker. So no one would see, like, I don't have anything, and like, whatever.
You just said, is all you had was a backpack?
Yeah, not with a glove in it. So I look over, like, here, there's like a scrum of people like looking on the wall. And I was like, damn, what are they looking at? Like all this stuff. And I asked this dude next to me, like, hey, what's going on over there? Why are they all looking at the wall? They're like, the lineup just got posted. I was like, oh, all right. So I waited for all of them to leave. So I go up to the lineup, and I start at the bottom, right? Instead of start at the bottom for like, all the extras, the bench dudes.
Yeah.
So then I wasn't on the bench dude, so I just thought I wasn't active yet.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, let's see what's going on. So I just keep scrolling up, and I see Gomes in the 5-hole. And I was like, oh, man.
In the 5-hole?
Yeah, in the 5. Like,
let's go.
What?
With a glove. That's all.
Yeah.
He's so bringing a glove to the 5-hole.
DH in the 5-hole. David Wells on the mound. And so BP and all that stuff was kind of a blow. I mean, it was kind of like whatever. Hitting on that field, that was cool, but I was still nervous.
That's old Yankee Stadium too, right?
Yeah, old Yankee Stadium.
Oh, man.
And then I think first 3 got out, and I was up second. So I got my routine down on deck. Yeah.
Timeout, Chief. You skipped the part where you got cleats.
Oh, yeah. So I went to the clubhouse, dude.
And I know like, how you got a bat, but I don't know how you got any cleats.
I was like, hey, man, I got nothing. Like, I don't have cleats. I don't have a bat. I don't have batting gloves. I got nothing. He's like, oh, like what size? Whatever. No, it's the big leagues. Like you get your shoes. I don't know, just somewhere around a 13 is good. What size do you wear? We'll get you what you want. Oh, I was like, damn, this is awesome. And then same thing with the bat. I go, yeah, just whatever, whoever's not using it.
Somewhere around a 34.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm all geared up, and so you got your on deck.
Yeah. So lock it. Yeah. Fast back forward on deck routine.
So I walk out to the on deck circle, and I was like, yeah, I got no idea what to do. I don't know if I should put the donut on my bat. Like, is that what Dom, or like, do you swing hard or not hard, or I'm just gonna stand here?
You take a knee? Do you take a knee like Jeter? What do we do?
Yeah, just kind of like just stretched, like I was calm and knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Wasn't like it wasn't my first time.
Yeah, and then it was pretty cool though. So I get in the box, and I got my hat deal, and I wasn't scared, but I was nervous to look up at the pitcher. So I just figured as soon as I turned my head, David Wells, the pitcher, was going to be like 20 feet from me. And I was just like, we got to get it on. So I looked up, and it was like the biggest monkey lifted off my back. I was like, that dude's 60 feet, 6 inches away. I've been doing this since high school. Like, there ain't nothing he's got that I haven't seen before. Like, and I just took like a big old like swing and started to get all froggy. And he threw this curveball that I have never seen in my life before. I mean, this thing went out of the stadium and then back in. And I was like, oh gosh. So when I got called up, they just give you a high number. So I got 60.
Right.
So when I was cleaning after that curveball, so I was cleaning, the batter's box, and I made sure to like turn so he could
saw
see.
so he could see 60.
Yeah, so he can not throw that again.
First pitch breaking ball, Chief. I mean, I haven't even. Come on.
Yeah.
How do you know I can't hit a fastball?
Yeah. So I was like, I just figured like just show him that I'm wearing 60, and like that curveball, yeah, pretty good. Like actually really good, but there ain't a fastball on this planet I can't turn around. So if you got one of those, I got something for you. Next pitch, he did throw a fastball, and I hit a double down the line.
Which one, right or left?
Left. So it was pretty cool. So I get down there, second, digging myself. I was like, yeah, I'll probably hit 1,000 my whole career. Like no big deal. Elbow guard, and I get a tap on the butt. Congratulations, kid. And I was like, oh.
To Jeter?
Oh, there he is. Like, oh.
And he's like, the way he walked was majestic, right? Like,
he's got this glow around him.
He's 6'4", but for some reason you can't really tell how tall he is because he's just like, he's everyone else touches the earth when he walks, but except him. So I'm staring at him like, damn, like, there he is. I see that number 2, see the tapered pants, and I'm checking him out. He's like digging the dirt, and he starts getting into his pre-pitch, and he gets into his pre-pitch, and he comes set. And I was like, I totally missed the pitch. I was just staring. You watched him the whole time. The whole time. If dude would have hit a double, it would have hit me, or mine would have hit me right in the neck. I was just staring at him like, and I heard the crack of the glove, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're playing. Okay. All right, I'm in play right now. So, we locked it back in. That was my first at bat. Yeah, you had to lock it back in because you got another hit. Yeah. What was the second hit? Second hit was in the 5-hole. Another pull job, fastball again, of course. I would have loved it if it was see, I'm partial to I always thought that my first big league hit would be a homer because everybody does it, right? Yeah. Little did I know that it'd be like Josh Johnson would buzz my tower, and same thing. I kind of looked out at him to see if dude, did we ever run in somewhere? Yeah. And I'm taking this dude deep, and sure enough, it was 1-0, buzz my tower, 2-0. I get a cookie, and I as if the homer was in the third base dugout because that's where my barrel went, and I just hooked Johnson roller. down the third baseline that Kai Aspo goes to field and then goes, I think it's going to go foul, and it rolls up to the bag and taps it.
Boom. You're in the record books.
So that's my – every time someone's like, oh, yeah, swinging bunt, first knock, I'm like, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what was going to happen, but there's one thing that was not going to happen, and I was not going to walk. There was zero chance I was
I thought you were about to say punch out.
No, oh, yeah, that was at a 90% clip.
Yeah, that was on the table.
Yeah, but
I was not going to walk.
No. I didn't wait since I was 3 years old to get to the big leagues at Yankee Stadium to walk.
Yeah, because you don't know if that's going to be your only at bat or not.
That could have been it, yeah.
You know what I mean? You walk, and then, it was Lou the first. Did you debut at Lou?
Yeah.
So you debut at Lou, and then Lou looks out, and he's like, I don't like this matchup. Johnny, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny. So you had 60. Cool. So you had numbers. You were 60, you were 31, you were 5, you were 15, and you were 7.
Yep.
You got 5 different numbers. Any of those, obviously not 60, but I would say from 31, 5, 15, and 7, which one of those numbers did you – 31 I think you wore the most, right?
Yeah, 31 I wore the most. That was just because I was in Tampa, played under that org the longest. I wore that in Cincinnati and my first set in Oakland. And then going to Boston.
That's where you were 5.
Yeah, the old John Lester was wearing 31, so you just consider that one taken.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I just thought, a historic organization. When you think of like old baseball, you go to like the Babe Ruths and stuff like that, and the old Yankees with the single digits. So I tried to, I wanted to have a single digit in 5. And my nickname when I was in high school and junior college stuff was J5. So I just went with 5er.
I love it. That's awesome. So 5. Yeah. So if you could do it all over again and have one number, you would go with 5?
No. I mean, if anyone ever wanted all my like passcodes and stuff, it's always like 5, 31, 31, 5, so with 5 and 31, yeah. I got 2 titles. So I like both those.
Nice. So let's switch it up a little bit. I want to do, I'm going to say individual words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. So I'm going to throw out a word, and I just want you could, it could be a story. You could tell me whatever, just whatever's on your mind. First word, grease.
Grease. Got to have grease, man. Got to have grease. You have all the gas in the world, but you got to have some grease.
One of my favorite lines that you had when you were with Boston, and they asked what you brought, and you said, "Man, I just bring the grease."
That's it. This guy's the motor. This guy's the horsepower. This guy's the torque. But none of that matters without grease, man. You got to have grease. You got to lube it up.
I love it. It's so true because there's so many. I was thinking about this the other day watching. I think I was watching a highlight of something, and I don't think there's ever been a World Series champ, a college national champ, that you can't go to their lineup and say they won the national championship without a guy that would probably fight anybody on the field.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any team because it's just like the Kansas City Royals, man. When you were on that team, you didn't even get any World Series at bats, but yet you delivered the best speech of the whole thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was a cool time. I mean, of course, you want to drive the bus, but my role wasn't that on that team at that time. But really dug in to just like making dudes around me like better. I had so much time on my hands because I wasn't playing, but just going, making my own advanced reports, finding tips, relaying info, just watching the game like a hawk, watching the game like a manager, this, that. So, and then just relaying it to the boys.
That's fire right there. I couldn't tell you how many guys, because I was just a bench player. So I think it's funny to have a different concept, but there's not a lot of guys, man, they watch every pitch. They spend about half in the back and half out. And then you got, when it comes time to take swings and get ready, that's when really you miss pitches. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I work too hard to get there. And when I get there, I've watched plenty of games on TV. So I ain't going to watch another one on TV when I got the best seats in the house.
That's so true. All right. What about effort?
Effort?
Is it eyewash or is it not?
I think there's different kinds of effort. I mean, I don't think I could put like an individual like definition on it, because there's a lot of people that try really hard to make it look like they're trying hard, and they put a lot of effort into it. You know, it's like, bro, dude, if you like cared about your swing as much as you did about how you look in your uniform, you'd be way better. Or like, if you put as much like effort into caring about your swing than what the manager thinks about you, like, you'll be way better. So, I mean, effort, you know, you got to have it and all that stuff, but, you know, it also needs a pretty sharp direction.
I like that. What about attitude?
Attitude, I would, if you say attitude, I'd have to say like even keel. Like, you know, it can't be up and down. Um, there's, you know, different style attitudes. You know, you got the guy with the chip on his shoulder. And you got the silver spoon guy who's had everything handed to him, but is still an all-star, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think, you know, you got to have it. But again, like you got to have a direction, you know, you got to have a place to put it, and it has to be consistent.
Mm-hmm. What about pro?
Pro, I think the biggest thing that stands out is like you get paid. You get paid. And that's a big separation to me, man. It really is. Like, there's like hit gurus, there's college gurus, there's cage gurus. I'm like, dude, you're not getting paid to do this. You're not getting paid. Like, there's not too many. There's only 750 at a time in the whole world, you know? Like, you can be a baseball guy, but you're not a pro because you're not getting paid by an org. So, yeah, I think that stands out. And there's a lot of other definitions, you know, things that go like how you carry yourself and this and that as a pro. But so,
I think you touched on that with attitude.
yeah, like, man, you get paid.
What about this one's 2 words? World Series.
Man, life changing. Life changing. It really is. I mean, it's been a life changing deal for me. So there's World Series and there's World Series champion. So when you become, you know, a champion, to me, it's like the most elite fraternity in the world. And it's one of the only like elite things that like you can't buy, right? Like you can get in the freaking Ferrari club, you can get in the yacht club, you just buy those, right? You know, the fraternities like at college, you get like voted in, like, and you can't buy this, you can't get voted in, you get this flat out earned.
And they're the, I think for me, I see them every year. I've watched you do it when they bring you back to the stadiums. You're never forgotten. And I think
Yeah,
that's why the message
really,
to me is so difficult for these kids to understand that if you want to be immortalized, a big contract doesn't immortalize you. Like you live forever when you win a championship.
Yeah, I tell young kids that all the time. Like, it's the only anniversary in baseball. That's it. It's the only anniversary. Like, we don't celebrate like Ichiro and Torrey Hunter getting their 10th straight Gold Glove. Like,
No.
we don't celebrate like Miggy getting the like Triple Crown. Like, oh, 10 years ago he got Triple Crown. Like, the only anniversaries are the pennants hanging up on the wall. That's it. That's it.
There ain't nothing to be said about that. As we wrap this up, there's kids out there that are going to hear this. You know, someone like me, someone like you, because I came from nothing. You know, I grew up in a mobile home, so I didn't have money to go out and get lessons and go listen to people speak. But if they're dreaming to become a big leaguer, how can that little kid become a big leaguer?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, you got to understand, man, the odds are stacked up against you. 100%, man. You're going down a difficult route. You know, you're going down a difficult route. I mean, that being said, I mean, if you were to hike a mountain, right, like a tall one, like you better be in shape and you better have your stuff in line. And most importantly, you better be committed. You know, you can't just limp up that mountain. You know, you got to be committed. You got to make sure all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. And then at the end of the day, like, the one thing that's always going to be there, and that's the reflection in the mirror. You know, so when you look at that reflection in the mirror and you're like, dang, I wish that coach didn't tell me this, or dang, I wish. There ain't no I wishes, man. Nothing. And is it possible? 100%. And then at times, I always say tough times go away, tough people don't, and then just look at that reflection, keep your eye on the prize, and be your best hitting coach. You're your own best hitting coach.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So now with all this being done, we're good. Jonny, the first guest on the Spark, man. It's been unbelievable.